You're crazy.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. We are back on Tuesday, everybody. We've taken some time off because fuck if they weren't making us work overtime.
Amen.
But we thought we would check in with Bachelor Nation. And there's been a lot of hot goss, as we have said in the past. Hot goss. And obviously nothing more kind of out in the media is with regards to Bachelor Nation than Colton Underwood coming out and identifying as gay. And it's a complicated topic and story given the recent events of the restraining order against Colton, his Netflix show that's coming out, all these things. And I think it's an important topic to discuss. Obviously, my sister is gay, and her coming out process was a challenging one for her, as it is, I think, for most people who come out. And Dave and I were texting about kind of the nuances of that process, and we all love Dave, and he was so great recapping. I asked him to come in and just kind of chat with me about all things Bachelor Nation, some of the news, and we spent a lot of time focusing on just the climate of the show. We obviously cover a lot of things regarding Colton. We dive into kind of the future of the show, specifically as it results to obviously Chris and all those other things. We probably could talk for hours, but it was a good conversation with Dave, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. We will certainly obviously be back on Tuesday sooner than later for the better part of forever in June, and maybe we'll probably drop another episode leading up to Katie's season. But we loved having Dave in. It was a great conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I guess we'll just get right to Dave. Thank you for coming back, Dave.
Certainly.
My audience loves you.
Great.
Truly.
I love your audience.
Loves
you. Great.
And
love to hear it.
I'm excited to have you back.
Thanks, man.
We haven't had a Bachelor themed episode since the end of Matt James's season. And since then there's been a lot of things going on, and
it's been explosive.
Bachelor Nation. And Dave and I were texting, and when Colton's news broke, and I text Dave like, I have a lot of thoughts and opinions, but I'm not sure how to discuss it. And Dave mentioned, he thought there was a conversation to have and a way to do it. And I was like, why don't you come on in?
All right.
And we'll chitty chat. And then I figured we'll talk about all other things about going on in Bachelor Nation.
Sure.
And we'll just dive all into it.
Yeah, we kind of processed it in real time as it was like the initial announcement, then the reality show announcement. There was a lot in that day.
And
it's jam-packed with Colton. I
know Colton. I have kind of a relationship with Colton. Yeah. And then, you are a gay man, and you talk about that. And then, I have a lot of gay friends, and I heard a lot of their opinions about the whole thing. And it was a very kind of complicated
it's messy.
Situation.
It's messy.
So I guess let's just start with that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it feels strange to talk about it because I don't know him at all. Like you do. I know him from TV. I'll be 100% honest. I watched his season with my phone in my hand. You know what I mean? Like I was half there, half not, waiting for the fence jump.
Yeah, you were one of those people who's like, is it this week? Come on, fuck it.
Yeah. Let's come on.
They got you.
Yeah, they absolutely. They know what they're doing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I had any strong feelings about him one way or the other than I always, when somebody is very open about being a virgin, especially a man, it's always like, what's going on there? It always seems like it's more complicated than they're maybe even aware themselves.
Yes, and I feel like Bachelor Nation kind of thought the same thing.
Yeah,
it was, there's more to this.
Yeah,
we don't know what it is. A lot of theories were thrown out.
Right.
Certainly his sexuality was part of that theory, but there was an abundant amount of theories. But it was all kind of like, we're not sure what's going on.
Right. And he didn't.
And he certainly led with, that's the interesting thing about Colton. He had no problem driving that conversation about, I'm a virgin.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that.
But he never really addressed
Not necessarily
why.
addressed it, but he didn't. He was happy to let the world know.
Yeah.
Sure. And that, but then also, and this is, you know, I defer to you on this, how much of it was like he mentioned it twice or 3 times and they just used all of those times?
Fair question. And that is a common that's a common frustration for any lead, is whether it's your story. Like for me, I always thought my narrative was totally kind of made up, or it's just like, I was like a combination of this unlucky in love whore, you know?
Okay. I didn't think of you that way, Nick Viall.
But you know, that's kind of how I got thought of some people, where it's just like, I was sex positive. You knew I kind of had sex because of things that were shown on the show.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so like my sexuality was highly talked about. And then because I was the runner up 2 times, it was like, this guy can't find a girl.
Right.
And it was like, I don't find either of those 2 to be accurate, but fuck it. Let's just go with it.
Sure.
And you know, 4th time's a charm. And that was that was I was very sensitive to that. I had conversations with the producer. I know every lead, to your point, will get frustrated about like this one storyline that's pounded into the audience, and they do that. I felt like with Colton, he was fine to talk about it as much as anyone. He brought it up,
right?
And I'm sure he got frustrated, but then he talked about it in his book. You know, his title of his book was The First Time or something along those lines. Again, it was, and so you know, maybe he got frustrated, but he certainly. At what I never got hurt. Like, I don't want to, you know, let's not lead with it. I mean, the title of his book was my first, like it was reference to his virginity.
I guess you got to go with, you know, if you're trying to monetize this experience, which a little bit seems like he's down to do a lot.
Yeah.
Then you go with what gets you the most attention, I guess.
His relationship with people in Bachelor Nation is also kind of a complicated one, because Colton's just a very nice guy. Like when you meet him, you're just he's nice. It's like, yeah, what a nice guy. But he never really got close to anyone. And a lot of us were like, we'll always reach out, you know, if you have any advice. And some people make friends with certain people, and he just never really connected, which is fine. And then you would kind of see things that you didn't know. You question the sincerity behind it, because there seemed to be a very deliberate, he was very, like, we're all brand conscious, but there was a level of, he's really in tune to all of this, but like you never really got to know him on a personal level, and that's fine, but it was always like, oh, I don't really know this guy. Yeah, well, that's kind of the closet for you, you know? And it seems to me that he was very invested in just not being gay. You know what I mean? Like, it really seemed like, you know, this last year, and again, I'm like, I've followed the news a tiny bit. Like I've read the headlines and never the stories. In the last few days, I've read a few of the stories, but I didn't know much about it as it was happening. I think if he is invested in being straight, you know, 6 months ago, he is running an elaborate sort of con on himself. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, and having been through it myself, and having, you know, being Catholic myself, and all of that stuff, it's like, you don't want people to get to know you too well, because they might notice something and bring it to your attention that makes you uncomfortable. You know, they might force a conversation with yourself that you're not ready to have. That makes sense. You know? Yeah. Which is sad. It's so sad.
The quote that kind of stuck out was when he said that when he got picked to be the Bachelor, he said he was thankful that God is making me straight.
I felt that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I ever had that conversation with myself, but I understand that level.
You related to the mindset,
self-delusion. Yeah. For me, it was, I chose a college that was very Catholic and very conservative and very like homogeneous. Oh, and I really did, this wasn't at the conscious level, but I was like, I mean, I knew, and I had like told a few friends that I was not straight for sure, but I was like, maybe I'll just go to this place and normal will just wash over me. You know, it'll just seep into me like Tiger Balm or whatever, and then I'll just graduate and be straight and normal and everything will be fine. Like, I don't think I thought that, but that definitely
you look back
deep
and
down
wonder,
motivated the decision. And so, yeah, I don't think he was necessarily thinking, oh, God made me straight by putting me on The Bachelor. But I think I do get that that's like part of the subconscious, unconscious conversation.
Were you out when you were on, like when you were want to be a VJ?
Oh, yeah.
Going through that? Were you out of the closet then?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
I came out like, you know, the process of like telling friends in late high school to like telling my family just before my senior year of college was like, that was kind of that was my like process, right?
Okay.
And I thought I was kind of rushing, you know, to go from girlfriend files a restraining order in September of last year to coming out on ABC in April of this year is real fast, but that's another story. Anyway,
Which we'll get into.
We'll get into. I was out to, you know, family and friends and all that, but at the time I hadn't, you know, in 98 or 99, if you wanted to come out publicly, you needed to do what Colton just did. You know, you needed to do an interview with somebody. There was no social media or blogs or whatever to like live your whole life on. Mm-hmm. And I kept like, I wanted to say something on the air, but my bosses were always like, let's do a special around it. Let's do like a National Coming Out Day special around it. And I was like, I don't know if I want to like throw myself a party necessarily. So it's just like each year we would be like, do we do something? Do we have like Rufus Wainwright on and do a show or whatever? And we just kind of never did. Ultimately, I came out in Out magazine. Like I was out, but I did the interview with Out magazine in like 2001 or 2 or something like that. And by then it was like everybody knew. But yeah, I hadn't had like the public. Nobody cared, honestly, is the thing. Like it's, you know, you have to get somebody, or had to back then, get somebody to do an interview with you, which meant you had to be the kind of person that a magazine would want to interview, which I wasn't and am not. So that was kind of my thing. By the time I, you know, had the conversation with the magazine, I was in it and secure enough.
Gotcha. You know, when we were texting, you know, a lot of the reactions kind of trying to dissect all of this with Colton, you mentioned, and I've heard this from my other gay friends, it's like being in the closet can be a very dark kind of place to be in. Yeah. And very scary. And while not necessarily an excuse for bad behavior, it can explain why bad behavior can happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you're, you know, if he's 29, 30?
Late 20s.
Late 20s. 30, if you're in your late 20s, you know, and you're not out yet, you have heard decades of bad information about yourself, like malicious, misinformed, destructive, bad information about yourself, and from people that you trust, from teachers, from your family, maybe not from people who are like monsters, just from people who don't know any better themselves and are maybe their intentions are good at whatever. Yeah. But you've heard so much bad shit about yourself and about what will happen to you if you are out, if you're gay or whatever. So it's difficult to navigate, and you have to do it alone because you can't. If you tell anybody, then the secret's out. You know. Telling somebody else is kind of as good as telling yourself, which you're trying not to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally.
And
well, because you're kind of breaking that seal of like, well, what if they, you all maybe like live in fear of not being able to trust them. Exactly. So you just don't.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not like, and the bad information that you get, it's not, you know, I'm, like I said, I'm Catholic also, and we're not, you don't get the you're going to hell conversation. It's not like, that would almost be easier because that's so easy to shake off you because it's like, it's a cartoon. It's
aggressive.
Ridiculous.
It's more like I guess it's your choice, you know, like a little passive aggressive shame.
Yeah, shaming. It's just it's not you're going to hell. It's just that like what you are is kind of shameful, you know, which is worse.
I mean, I had my grandma, I mean, when we were younger, she got old, but like I'm very Catholic. And so it's just a lot of,
shade.
I'll pray for you.
Is there anything worse?
Thanks, Grandma.
Yeah.
What a great time to tell the time. And we're doing that with Movement, people. One of my favorite watches that I have is this Movement watch right here. It works with everything that I'm wearing. They have a watch kind of for every situation, and you don't have to bring to bank to do it. Movement watches have the look and quality of watches that are $400 to $500, and you're only paying a fraction of that And it's, I don't know, like you can have a bunch of different options for a bunch of different looks without breaking the bank. They also have amazing sunglasses, of which, by the way, if you're wondering, the sunglasses I often wear on my Instagram, they're from Movement. So be sure to check that out. What more could I say about the amazing company Movement that has expanded into blue light glasses that protect your eyes from sunscreen? So get those fashion frames now, because let's be honest, sometimes we just like to smart our faces up, and we'll tell people that we're, also blocking, screen light, which it does work, but like we're on our phones a lot, but also they look good on your face. So like treat your face to some fashion frames.
Treat your face.
Treat your face. So get the amazing watches and sunglasses and eyewear from Movement. If you want to elevate your look with style that doesn't break the bank, then just join the Movement and get 15% off today with free shipping and free returns by going to mvmt.com/VIALL. Again, that is mvmt.com/VIALL. Hey, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm a homeowner. Yep. That's right. I love my home, and I've also become I'm the homeowner who likes to go out and take care of his lawn. I like going out there on Sundays and wearing my robe and slippies and watering my lawn and make sure there's no weeds in them and it's growing fast and luscious, and I'm having a competition with my neighbor to make sure who has the best lawn, and I'm winning that competition through the help of Sunday. That's right. Sunday makes lawn care easier than ever. That's right. When I want to take care of my lawn, I just went to Sunday.com, put in my home address, and they free lawn analysis took care of all the rest. And they just sent me a bunch of things that make my yard looking kick-ass. Sunday uses soil and climate data to create a tailored nutrient plan so that you'll get all the stuff for your lawn needs. We live in different climates. Sometimes it rains a lot, rains a little. Sometimes it's hot all the time. Sometimes it snows. So make sure you have the best grass possible for where you live. Sunday explains exactly what you get and why, and everything is waiting for you at your door. They just delivered it right to my door. It was amazing, and I started kicking ass on my lawn moments later. All I had to do was attach the ready-to-use pouch to any garden hose and spray. That's what I did. It was dummy-free, and I am a dummy sometimes. Lawn care used to take my whole day. No, now it just takes 15 minutes. Let Sunday take the guesswork out of growing a greener and more beautiful lawn this spring. Visit getsunday.com/VIAL to get $20 off your custom lawn plan at checkout. That's $20 off your custom plan at getsunday.com/VIALL.
Treat your lawn.
Treat your lawn. She had this thing called Holy Hour.
Oh, no.
Every hour. I thought it was a thing. Turns out every hour she would just go to church and pray for her loved ones.
Every hour?
Every day.
Wait.
Once a day.
Oh, okay.
Once a day for an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said once an hour she would go to the church.
No, once a day for an hour she would go and pray.
Okay.
For
all right.
All the sinners in her family.
That's fair.
Nah, I was like, thanks.
That's fair. Yeah.
You have a big family. Yeah. Probably took the whole hour.
Yeah. I don't. My family was not like once a day churchgoers, but certainly, once a
we
week.
weren't, but grandma.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, it's a tough place to be, and everybody has to do it alone, which is really hard. And it's a difficult thing because I feel for him on one hand, but on the other hand, you can't make other people feel unsafe.
I have a sister who came out as gay, is gay, and without getting into too much detail, there was a scary part of her life, Catholic family, and my parents accepted it really well, but she didn't know that they would. Yeah. And so there was a lot of fear that she had, and there was thoughts of self-harm and a really dark, and you realize this, and you're like, oh my God, why did you ever worry about this? But it makes you realize for all the young people who are, growing up and have these thoughts and wondering, am I gay, or, or they question their sexuality. It's a real problem out there.
It is.
It's still a problem.
It is.
Obviously you hear the horror stories of the past, and so you want to give it a space where you want to have like a graciousness and understanding and empathy to the darkness that can happen. Right. And so I messaged Colton and DM'd him. It's like, listen, congratulations. Yeah. I hope you found your happiness, and I'm really happy for you. Right. At the same time, there is this kind of all the decisions he's made leading up to this that you're still grappling with. For me, I grapple with it even more because, you know, I talked to Cassie after all that news broke.
Really?
And I'm not going to share the things that she shared with me specifically, but what I can share is that, you know, the information that's out there is all like what happened, right? But when you hear that person who was affected by it tell that story,
right, and
you hear it from them, it completely changes your perspective from, oh, that's kind of creepy and weird, to that's a scary situation.
Yeah.
To hear that person tell a story and know that when that stuff was happening, she had legitimate fear.
Yeah.
And that's a dark, sad thing. And it was news when that came out, but it wasn't the national news that it was for Colton to come out. And for a lot of people, it felt like what happened to Cassie and her being a victim was almost kind of brushed under the rug. You know, it
was okay all of a sudden.
For some people, it was like it had a, not as much, but like an inkling of the, like when Kevin Spacey got accused of all those tragic things, and all of a sudden he tweeted, "By the way, I'm gay."
Kevin Spacey.
As if like somehow there was, no big, you know, and it wasn't, and so there was a lot of people kind of, I'm so happy for Colton.
Right.
Wow, and I can't imagine the pain you must feel.
Yeah.
However, how do we process what happened here?
It's a complicated story, and like the media is not good at complicated stories, you know, especially when they get into issues of people's like freedom and liberation. Like it's still, you know, equality for queer people is still pretty new culturally, right? So it's hard, I think, for them to tell the story that includes the fact that queer people can also like have moments where they're the villain of the story. That makes it very complicated, you know. But there is, when you're in that dark place, there's almost no way you won't create some kind of collateral damage. I did, for sure. I don't know anyone who didn't really. You know, this is an extreme case, which makes it that much weirder that like this stuff. So this stuff happened like September of last year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's like late last year. It is not yet mid this year. So to go from being that desperate to not be gay, to go to like be going on television and saying I'm gay, and then on top of it, and then on top of it, I have a reality show about it coming up.
Complicates it.
It makes it really complicated because he's got a lot of work to do, for sure. He doesn't strike me as somebody who knows himself super well, and there's a lot of work in that department that needs to get done, and TV is not the place to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's where some of his peers who, well, maybe they don't know him, have known him. You hear, you know, first we started hearing, hey, Colton's on GMA tomorrow with Robin Roberts, and the first thought was, I think he might be coming out.
Yeah.
I hope, great. And then immediately we started hearing rumors about this Netflix documentary. Yeah. And the thought was that tracks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like that wasn't a shock to anyone.
Okay.
So then you think about the process, right? I mean, so like Colton clearly had to go to GMA and say, hey, I want to come out. Are you guys interested?
Yeah.
He clearly had to go to Netflix and say, hey, I'm coming out. Are you guys interested?
Yeah.
Like he sold his story to Netflix.
Before he did GMA.
Yeah. And pitching stuff takes a long time, you know.
It does. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in the process. I've been in the process before. It's a lot of work and a lot of process, a lot of meetings. It's
and that's when people are in the office.
Yeah.
So this is so who knows when the pitch deck for,
because that GMA interview is going to be part of that documentary.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Does that change your perspective? I mean, that's where you start questioning, like, does it matter? Does it change anything? Did you question his sincerity? I don't know.
I don't know either. And I just don't think it's the healthiest choice for him right now.
So all that aside, you're just like, if I were his guide.
Yeah. Yeah. If I were Gus Kenworthy somehow.
You might say, let's just not do it.
Let's stick a pin in this and do it in a year.
Yeah.
Or let's at least wait a week before we announce it. To have the interview come out, and then people are still sort of processing it and whatever, and then the variety story comes out that there's going to be a reality show.
Technically they didn't leak it. I mean, who knows where it
right?
But it wasn't like he didn't announce it,
right?
They didn't comment, but who knows? You can leak that stuff without being.
Yeah,
who knows?
I think
it did come out coincidentally,
right,
or uncoincidentally the same day.
Yeah, and it's just like. Watching people react to it and watching this thing happen, you understand how little people understand what coming out is. And it's not just being like, I'm gay and now I'm on the other side of this door and now my life is different and everything's cool and better and I'm happy and I'm healthy and all that. It is a process. Like, you have to deprogram yourself. You have to take a moment and identify all of the bad messages that kept you so desperate last year to be straight. And you got to start to identify that shit and and tell yourself a different and better story. And that is not just, you don't do that with an interview with Robin Roberts, and you don't do that with the reality show. You do that with time and, good friends and a good therapist and mistakes and all that kind of thing. It is a long process. So I don't, anything that's like, hey, let us explain the gay world. My hackles go all the way up, because there isn't one. There are many, and there's no one way to live your life. There's no the idea of a gay guide is crazy. The idea of that gay guide being someone else who is equally hot and wealthy and famous is what the fuck are you going to tell me in this story?
Well, I think there's a lot of questions that even with my gay friends too, or straight friends,
right.
What is this documentary going to be?
Right.
There's a lot we don't know.
Right.
We just heard gay guide.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's this kind of is it it almost comes across as if it's 1990.
Yeah.
And being gay isn't as widely accepted as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, and we're going to see Colton go to the gay bar for the first time. Sure. I've been to so many gay bars.
Yeah.
I mean, straight people go to gay bars all the time now, at least in, LA or New York. It's not I have gay friends. They're like, we're going to the bar. I'm like, okay, it's not a thing. It's not am I going to be okay? I just go to a bar. Yeah. It's a bar.
But it was a thing for him. He never did.
Sure.
I don't know that, but I know.
Yeah. Hey guys, merch. We got merch out there. Some really great hoodies, breakup books, sweats, mugs, great sayings like, hey, sorry I'm right, or he's toxic.
You could really stock up your whole house.
Yeah. You just get it all. Support your favorite podcast. I wear my hoodies out there, get compliments all the time. Where'd you get that?
Absolutely. I don't think I've ever seen you not in a Viall Files sweatshirt.
And I'll tell you what, people are complimenting my fashion all the time. So check us out, viallfiles.com. Get 20% off, code VIALL. You know the drill. Get your friend a hoodie, a t-shirt, a mug.
They'll thank you.
And probably offer some perspective into your relationship lives all at the same time while looking great. I guess my question to you is how would, knowing that this doc does exist, how would you like to see it done where you can watch and think, this was a positive thing. This did a lot of good for the gay community, specifically for young men and women who are struggling with coming out?
I think it would have to be something not sexy. He's obviously gorgeous and will be accepted with open arms anywhere he wants to go, which is not the experience of 99% of the world. So that show, I can see where that show would be fun and kicky and sexy and all that kind of thing, but not helpful for anyone. I do think it's I want to spend time honestly talking to somebody who was that committed to denying himself his actual identity. What is that? Where does that come from? How do you get over that? An in treatment
or something.
Yeah. Which he wouldn't agree to do, because who would agree to do it? It would be horrifying to do that kind of thing publicly, but it would be helpful.
Yeah. I hope it's more about the process and less about Colton, and I'm not so sure it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing.
Like if they were speaking with his family.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
the
they,
relationship
really
with his
dove into it,
dad.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously there's a ton to get into. And I built, I don't know him. I know his family even less. Yeah. But I have, I'm sure that they're loving and nice and kind, and mine certainly are. But they got a bunch of bad information, and they passed a lot of bad information on to me, and that made the process difficult. And there are just a lot of real issues to get into, and TV doesn't do those kinds of things well. Guy Branum, who's a comic who's gay, said, I'm going to butcher this, but he was like, Hollywood doesn't know what to do with gay men if they don't have abs or a hot comb. Like if you're anything but like gorgeous or or Jonathan Van Ness, it's like I don't know where to put you. And I can speak to that because like after going out for like hosting jobs, if there was a gay element to it, the casting directors would always be like, gay it up a little bit, which like, if you want to see me snap, tell me to gay it up a little bit. Like I for sure burned some bridges in some conference rooms.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. Cause that's fucked up. That's
fucked up.
That's real fucked up. And that's
So
not that long ago. That's not that long ago. So I don't think that we're going to get the emotional, psychological deep dive into Colton that could be helpful, because I don't know that he's done it yet. And like, if you have been in the kind of pain that he clearly has been in for a long time, and then you come out and you look like Colton Underwood, I think it would be very easy to just slide right into the part of the gay world that's just partying your ass off. You know what I mean? And I've seen a lot of people do it where it's just like, it took them a long time to come out, and then they did. And then it's just like, you couldn't get a shirt on them for 10 years after that. They were just from one circuit party to another. And it's like, and I'm sure that's a lot of fun. And you do have to do that. You kind of have to, but like,
it can be destructive.
It can be destructive. It can be overcorrecting a little bit. And I feel like he will get an invitation into that world that is not the most healthy.
Another
either.
question too is, like you said, like the timeline, right? Like 6 months ago, this thing with Cassie happened.
Yeah.
And yes, we can understand why being in the closet can lead to this trauma and having collateral damage, which is an excuse, but does help explain it. And if he hasn't really done the work, and if he still doesn't do the work, is he potentially at risk of continuing to hurt people around him?
For sure. Yeah. If you never examine this stuff, then you never get to fix it. If you never really like take an honest look at the parts of the story where you're the bad guy, then you can't ever start to fix it. And he might not ever. Like, it really might swing in that direction so far that he's just kind of, having fun for the rest of his life and never really.
It's an interesting way to
really
put it.
Looking.
Yeah, look at the story in which you're the villain of the story. Hard to do.
It is, but we all have to.
We all have to.
It can't, the torture of the closet is a very bad thing, but on some level, you have to be responsible for your own actions and the way that they affect other people. So I don't know. I think he will, like 10 years ago, I had a friend, one of my first LA friends, was this guy who was like tall and blonde and gorgeous and, shoulders and cheekbones and just, whatever. And always like a little, like diffident around women. I never connected the dots, but whatever. Just like women would throw themselves at him and he was just kind of whatever. And then he was like a part-time model, and then that became a full-time thing. And then he came back from a modeling trip and he was like, oh, by the way, I'm gay now. And I was like, oh, okay. Which I hadn't thought of. Right. And he was like, the revelation had hit him like a month before. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. And I was like, well, I'm here for you. If you want to go out, and I'll take you around West Hollywood next weekend. And it wasn't this, but it was basically like, oh, I'm going to be on David Geffen's yacht for the month of August, so I'm not going to be able to make it. Or like, Barry Diller's taking me to Corfu or whatever. Like within a month became so much better connected in the gay world than I will ever be if I live 1,000 lifetimes, because he was like because he looked like Colton Underwood. So it's like you can kind of get like, I feel like his gay experience is going to be not one that's going to be super relatable, if that makes any sense.
No, it does.
Yeah. And Gus Kenworthy's even less. Also, we don't know the extent of his involvement, right? Like it just said like he would make an appearance as his gay guide or whatever. So that could be a cameo.
I heard it was like legit, like he was offered a hosting opportunity.
Oh.
And took the work.
Okay. All right.
So to what extent he's going to be involved, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's a lot of us. Hey, Netflix, there's a bunch of us out here. There's a ton of, we may not have that signature Gus Kenworthy sense of humor, but there are a lot of us out here who could show Colton Underwood around.
I
don't mean to.
I hope it's a positive show, and I hope it's more about, like, again, as someone who has a gay sister and friends, and you've heard the struggles, and it can be a really positive thing, and I want this all to be like, just look back and be like, there was some hurt, there was some damage, but overall very net positive, and I think there's still an opportunity there, and I hope it is, and I hope it's less about, you know, I guess the question I think people raise sometimes is, if the stuff with Cassie never came out, do we know that Colton's gay today?
Interesting. Ooh. Wow. Okay. Huh. So what do you mean?
Well, I have gay friends who know Colton, and when the stuff with Cassie came out, there were thoughts of the only way he fixes this for himself
is Kevin Spacey
is if he comes out.
Interesting.
And that was just a conversation, a private conversation, and I've had a handful of gay friends say that to me.
And these are people who knew him?
They've met him, or they knew him, or some of them didn't know him.
Okay.
Just, you know, but there have been thoughts and opinions, and like, again, because of the whole intense conversations about his virginity, and he didn't offer any answers. So when you offer like I'm a virgin and I don't know why, people are going to speculate.
Sure.
So there have been, in his book, he talked about whether he was gay or not.
Yeah.
And so there were just questions about, like, so that's I don't know.
So their theory is that he was already out to some degree.
I don't know if he was. I don't know. I don't know if they have a theory, but it's just like after the Cassie thing, he disappeared, turned off his Instagram. We never saw him, and he popped up a little bit, disappeared again.
Yeah,
and now he is on GMA, has a Netflix special.
Yeah. So it might have sped the process up a little bit.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And does that matter? And do we? I don't know.
Yeah, it matters, I guess. God, I don't know. This is complicated. Also,
complicated.
It really is. I also don't know, like, post his season of The Bachelor, like, what his life is.
It was a lot.
Is it just appearances, or?
From all I know, he spent all his time with Cassie and her family.
Okay.
And I ran into him a couple times, all nice, you know, and. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how many. Yeah, I think he did the handful of appearances. I don't know the details, but he spent a lot of time with their family.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. So their theory is that he was sort of trying to take back, like, the good guy.
It's less of
role.
a theory rather than just a speculation of how, like, would we know?
Like, by he coming out, does that negate any of the stuff that he did to Cassie? And does that make it okay that he did those things?
Not even okay, but, like, does it take away the sincere, like, would he still be trying to live the lie if he wasn't forced to, like, because, after, when you get accused of stalking a woman,
right,
and you were the Bachelor and your whole audience is women, it's over.
Yeah.
And now,
great.
And now, well, clearly it's not over. He's got a Netflix show about us.
So what would his career be if he hadn't come out?
There's no career.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, even if the Cassie stuff hadn't come out, what would his career be?
Well, I mean, it's a challenging world for all of us, right?
Yeah.
Who are, the Matt James out and hanging out with Snap the TikTokers and it's a listen. We've talked about this in the show. It's a dark world in the sense that like you are treated like this kind of B+, A- celebrity for 6 months. You get this incredible access. It's fun and exciting, and it's a drug. Yeah. And then it stops, and you're kind of left on an island to fend for yourself. Right. And there's a lot of expectations you have built in for yourself and other people around you. You get a shit ton bad advice. Very different than, but yeah, you get a bunch of bad advice for people who aren't invested. You have this complicated relationship with the show, right? You have a lot of frustration with the show. Yeah. You have a anger with the show, but they're not all, they do have your best interest in mind, but like they're telling your story. And so you get mad at some of the things that you don't love about your story. You take it very personal. It's a very sensitive issue. And a lot of people will get mad at the show. They'll say, fuck them, discourage them. Sometimes that's based off of the bad advice they get from other people around them. And the advice that I will give to people, and they often don't take it, is like, listen, I'm not telling you not to be mad with the show. Be mad. I've been mad. Talk to them, vent, let them know that you're mad. But like if you break your contract, or you go out on a limb and just publicly say fuck you, Warner Brothers or ABC, again, I'm not telling you what to do, but if you're getting that advice from someone else, just know it doesn't affect them at all. Yeah. Doesn't cost them anything. Yeah. But it costs potentially you a lot just because you're a little sensitive and frustrated about the situation. And again, I'm not telling you don't have a right to be, but there's a way to express your frustration, and there's a way to maybe work with the people. And maybe you might also be a little bit sensitive about something that you will, down the 6 months later, almost even see how it was a positive thing. I use that example, like when Caitlin broke up with me the second time, I was like, how could you do that to me? How could the show do that? How could they let me propose to this? How could they do this to me? Yeah. Best moment of my TV career on the show. It opened up so many things. I look back and watch it, and I'm proud of how I handled that situation. Yeah. But in that moment, I did not feel that way, and I felt very wronged, and I felt very jaded. And so it can be very complicated. Yeah. And so Colton's no different than anyone else before him, of like trying to make something of this experience and feeling that pressure. And saying yes to things that maybe you shouldn't say yes to. Yeah. Burning bridges because you're frustrated because you're getting bad advice from other people. It's a very challenging and arduous, complicated thing. While competing with your peers. Sure. God. Yeah. Yeah. That is not a perspective that I've heard before. And you grind. Yeah. I don't know that he necessarily grinds. Like, you have been very smart about choosing projects, I think everyone tries to grind. How they grind and the decisions they make and the advice they take differs. Is the reality show with Warner Brothers? No, it's with Netflix. That has nothing to do with them. Okay. Which I mean, we'll just kind of cover this question, like the idea that ABC I've heard a rumor that the producers are considering making Colton the first gay bachelor. Well, first of all, like, that relationship is already complicated and probably damaged. He's got a show with Netflix that's not Warner Brothers, so it's a different network. Yeah. Again, so if they had a gay bachelor, not going to be Colton is my guess. Also, it's a different show. Like, it works on Paradise, but the Bachelor show is about isolating people and withholding love from one person that you're attracted to, and straight men and women fall in love with each other based off the isolation of not having time with anyone else. So if it was a house full of people attracted to each other, they would forget who the lead is. Absolutely. Immediately. It would just be like, I don't know who. They would not get through the first cocktail party. I mean, I'm all for having a gay bachelor, but it's not that show. No, it's a different show. It's 100% a different show. That's why they've been trying to do it forever, but it always it has to involve trickery. That boy meets boy nonsense.
Oh, yeah, didn't Lance host one? Lance
maybe. Yeah. And all the guys, there's many relationships, and that's just a different show. I don't, and that's why it works in Paradise. I hope they have different ways of incorporating bisexual gay people in paradise, whether it's, we had Demi and, there's this whole like, traditional Bachelor Nation. It's just like, well, if you don't go on the Bachelor Bachelorette, you can't go on Paradise. It's like, well, who gives a shit? Like, I don't know. But fine. There's these rule followers. And so I hope they keep introducing gay relationships on Paradise. Yeah. I just don't know how you're going to do it on the Bachelor with a lead.
Yeah, no, that would be a disaster. Everybody would be fucking the first night. I'm sorry. But it would just be a house full of like 26 beautiful men. That would just be a disaster. I'd watch it, but it would be a disaster.
Do you have I've had people criticize criticize producers for casting Colton as if they...
That is another thing that I've seen a lot on Twitter.
What are your thoughts on that?
Which is that like he was being deceptive the whole time. Like he knew and whatever. That is not the way the closet works at all. Like on some level, but the amount, like the mental jujitsu that you're doing on yourself for years is so strong that it's like, you're not thinking clearly. You're not operating at the rational level.
Plus he thought God made him straight.
Yeah.
Do you have any, do you like criticize the production for casting him as a Bachelor?
No. Okay. No. How could they have known?
I don't either.
No.
I will offer a criticism that I've said to some of them when it comes to casting overall, specifically with The Bachelor. It's interesting because I think becoming The Bachelor is becoming less and less as an attractive role. I think it's becoming harder and harder to get through it and seem likable. Or like that was a good Bachelor. I do think it ages better over time, but one criticism I have is their old playbook doesn't seem to work anymore.
Not at all.
Because their old playbook, ironically, you think of The Bachelor and you think of super eligible guy. What is that, whatever eligible means to you? But in reality, especially the past 3 seasons are perfect examples of their playbook. Colton Underwood, Peter, Matt James, all great guys in their own right, but like what they are, and we didn't know Colton was gay, and but like what they are is obviously, and they knew this, is kind of for different reasons, emotionally immature, stunted men. Colton was the virgin, didn't know why, questions about his, a lot of questions. Peter lived at home, had this kind of very dominant mother.
Yeah.
Matt James, by his own admission, never been in love. Like, so we're casting The Bachelor, who has this very limited emotional sexual history,
right?
But he's ready for love.
Yeah.
And that used to work with like Sean Lowe, right? I think it used to work with kind of a more traditional, because that's not the first time they've done this, where these kind of guys were more like, I've never really, but hey, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And we got to watch this person fall in love and experience all these things for the first time. And I wonder, being in 2021 and being more sex positive and being more kind of progressive when it comes to dating and having, real world experiences, is it becoming less and less relatable to watch these guys who, by their own admission, for different reasons, have some growing up to do.
Right.
Some Peter Pan syndrome, if you will.
For sure. If you, I put it this way in my book, Party of One, available wherever books are sold. If you have that kind of like delayed adolescence a little bit, like if you don't fully let yourself like be in love with somebody for a long time, like a lot of people do it when they're 13 and 14, have that really embarrassing first relationship where they throw themselves into it, but they're 13, and that's to be expected when you're 13
or 18 or 19
or 18 or 19 or whatever. But when you do it, like I was, my first boyfriend, I was 22, and Colton's going through this chaos now and whatever. The other 2 guys have like kind of pushed that a few years off. That gives, like, your heart is like a beer can bouncing around the trunk of a car for a long time. It's just there and it's echoing, and it's like it's in isolation, and it's just, you're frustrated because you see your peers enjoying themselves and you can't get there. And the first person to like go in and pop the top off, it will be a mess. Yeah. Their clothing will be ruined because it's just hot and jostled, and it's It's just going to be a fucking mess. And I think that is a little bit what's happened.
Yeah. And, you know, what you describe, it sounds like something people would enjoy watching on TV, and it makes for reality television. But, you know, I feel like we want our bachelors to overall be generally likable and relatable.
Sure.
You know, when you casted me, like I was an outlier in terms of the type of bachelor they would cast, someone who like clearly has had dating experience and you know, Ari too. And, you know, Ari had his shit, and, you know, people criticized me for, I broke up with the most women outside of a rose ceremony. You know, everyone breaks up with the same amount of women, but I did it in a one-on-one situation. I thought I was like being real and sincere and genuine and giving them their space and not just not giving them a rose.
Yeah.
But to some people it kind of came across as dickish or not grateful, you know? And that's the problem sometimes with the show is like, yeah, like, you know, Chris Harrison would always come out and say, hey, you got 30 great men or women, depending on the season. You're lucky to be here. But Chris has never been like, we have 30 people who are compatible for you. There's no mention of compatibility in that show.
True.
It's solely based off of like, they're alive, they're generally good looking, and they're here.
They're available.
You're lucky.
Yeah.
And then there's this pressure of the lead to like, and especially for the men, right? Because you have a women audience and like you have to be grateful. And that's why while Colton was the Bachelor, quite well liked because he was the most broken up with Bachelor in terms of women leaving on their own.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a lot of sympathy for Colton being like, you know what, poor fucking guy. And that's how, and people watching it, it was kind of likable to see him experience that. You look at Peter and Matt James, it seems like the audience has been frustrated with this lack of experience. And you know, Peter, and I like Peter, I consider him a friend, but he just came across as someone who was just like, I'm in love with everybody, you know, and Matt kind of had his own, like, I don't know, you know, like,
yeah, well, there was a lot going on.
Yeah. And season. You know, there's a lot going on this season, and you had the race element too. And that was obviously challenging for Matt, but there's no denying that, like, should we be casting people who by their own admission have been like, I have almost no experience when it comes to dating?
Yeah. That's why, whatever happened to that like 60 and up Bachelor season?
I think they still want to get it done, but you know,
that's the answer.
I can't wait. Yeah. I think they still want to do it. I mean, there's no signs that they're slowing down from you know, we got 2 Bachelorettes. It's cheap to make and highly watced. And I think they're only going to keep making,
especially now that everyone's like under house arrest at a chateau or whatever.
Yeah.
They have to jet set all around the world.
What are your thoughts on episode 1 without Chris Harrison?
So, okay.
Are you looking forward to it? Are you anticipating it?
What is his status on the show?
Unknown.
We don't know. Okay.
Unknown. I will say what I think is going to happen, but I'll let you tell me what you think in terms of an audience member, what you think. Like, how are you looking forward to it? Are you curious of what it's going to be like?
It's 2 women hosting, right?
Yeah. Tasha and Caitlin.
Oh God, they'll kill it. They'll do great. I think, you know, Chris Harrison is awesome. He's you know, great at the job. You obviously have a different experience with him than I do. But he's a pro and everything, but he's also been at it for 20 years. And it'll be interesting to see new people.
Yeah.
But, you know, with like everybody claiming that they're a victim of cancel culture now, letting him go permanently would be not the world's best look either.
I think it's another complicated.
It's very complicated
thing.
Yeah.
You know, I consider Chris a friend, right? And that doesn't mean that I haven't been mad at him in the past. I've gotten closer with Chris since being the Bachelor.
Yeah.
Right. But you're all very sensitive, right? So, and I believe in him. I believe in his ability to learn. I think he's a good person. I would go to Chris for advice, right? At the same time, I recognize what he did was wrong. I also recognize, as the host of the show, there's a unique amount of privilege that comes with it. And, you know, sometimes when you have an amazing opportunity, that the room for mistake is small. So I can understand if there's a lot of people questioning if it's right for him to come back. You know,
Right.
that's, I guess all I'm saying is I can understand. Now, talking about what I think is going to happen, I think, you know, obviously you have a lot of Chris supporters, you know, anti-cancel culture who just think this is a bigger issue, will be frustrated. But I think most people are going to watch with anticipation, either out of curiosity or to see it. They, you know, people watch things because they want to see it fail. And then they want to say, I told you so.
Right.
But I think
How many people you think watch The Bachelor for Chris Harrison?
very few.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do think he has his supporters, and
Sure.
I think forget minus that, it's gotten politicized, right? But I think what's going to happen is people will watch it at anticipation, and I think you will see Tayshia and Caitlyn do very well.
Yeah.
And we just haven't watched a show without Chris, so we don't know what it's going to like. So when
Right.
you think about it, you're like, how does that work? But I think what you will see it happen,
And
you'll see him do well. And Chris is a rock star host of so many things that I think people underappreciate what he's good at. However, as someone who's been in that world, sometimes cast has gotten frustrated with, and leads have gotten frustrated with him, is that I think where you will see Caitlyn and Tayshia excel where Chris didn't is that's why they said they're gonna, Caitlyn and Tayshia are there, you know, whatever we call it, fine, but whatever ABC called it, they not hosting, they were there in a supportive role to Katie, which is what you often saw Chris do right throughout the season. And I think you're going to see Katie and Tayshia very much excel where Chris didn't, because, well, you have women supporting women. You have two women who have been through that experience. Chris might be the host of the show, but
he hasn't been through the
he never been
experience.
through it. And sometimes he would frustrate cast like myself for talking to us like he knew what he was going through and saying things and talking about things that didn't happen. And we would be like, what are you doing? You know, and you get frustrated. And so I think you will see a level of sincerity between those two that this is going to be easier for them. And I think the audience will like that. And I think it will actually come across very well. What they do with AFR and some of the more traditional hosting things that Chris had to do remains to be seen. You can always outsource that. You can give it to a manual again or whatever. But I think if they pull it off, I at this point, if you had to ask me what I think will happen, I don't know if Chris will ever be back.
Huh. Okay.
I think, because I think Tayshia and Caitlyn will pull it off.
Right.
I think Paradise doesn't necessarily Paradise needs a host less than any other formats.
Right.
Can you bring Chris Harrison back on Michelle's season for the first time? A woman of color?
Oh, yeah.
Is that story going to be about Michelle, the woman of color, or is it going to be about Chris coming back?
Right.
I don't know if those optics, so when does he come back? And
Or does he just do The Bachelor?
At that point, if they've pulled off this, because you could bring back male alumni to do the same thing, or you could bring back Caitlyn and Tayshia to, you know, it's women talking to men, and supportive, but it's still a shared mutual experience.
Yeah.
If they don't pull it off, if the ratings drop, then I think if they pull it off, regardless of what I think should happen, I wonder if Chris will be back. I don't think, like, Chris hiring lawyers, I think it made it stickier. I think it made it more, complicated. I mean, he hired a high-powered lawyer, and I think there's lawyers involved, and I don't know what that looks like or what's going on there. But.
Yeah, he's like a comforting part of the experience, but I don't think that the show suffers necessarily without him. And you're right, having a female energy and having an alumni energy could make it much more interesting.
Yeah, there'll be parts, I'm sure, where you miss Chris's kind of professionalism and traditional kind of hosting experience, where it looks a little sloppy. Yeah. But maybe people will enjoy that authenticity. I don't know.
Right.
To your and Chrissy's point, does it really stop the show from being enjoyable?
No, I don't think so. Except that he is a stone professional. I've worked with him a couple times, and he is like,
no wasted words.
Yeah. No, he's so good. Yeah. So good. Yeah. And I think they will be too, but that is, I mean, it's a muscle that you have to kind of.
The fact that we're going through a pandemic and they can't do live shows. Yeah. Say what you like. Emmanuel did a great job with AFR. That was a taped thing. They recorded for 7 hours and condensed it into 1 hour.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
Yeah. But AFR live, I don't think people appreciate. And Chris has been on this podcast to talk about it, the skill involved. Oh God. And how good Chris is at that. Yeah. And how much people, if they get back to live AFRs and if Chris isn't hosting that, it may not be as pretty.
Yeah. Live TV is very tough. It's so much fun, but it's really, really tough. And especially for network. God.
And it's interesting.
Stakes are high.
Without getting into too much detail, I see articles out there and, you know, all the reasons why Chris did this or Chris didn't do this or Chris supported, you know, signs that Chris has been problematic in the past. But like, Chris is the host of the show, and I know he has a producer credit, but he isn't casting. He isn't picking dates. He's not doing those. If you want to, maybe you can blame if you want to criticize the show for something, fine. But like, Chris isn't producing those things. He's not deciding. He's not, he's not bringing anyone forward because they think they're great TV. He's the host of the show. And
he's just keeping the.
He has bosses who have producers, and he's just guiding it on. So like, some of those things I think aren't all on Chris. If there's things you want to criticize, also I don't think some of the criticism that the show gets is accurate.
Right.
You know.
There was talk after Chris got divorced of him being the Bachelor.
Yeah, I remember that.
Would that ever happen? Is that a way to tie it up?
Well, I don't think back then. I remember reading that article, and Chris is like, it's never going to happen. No one wants to see me on TV. And I think Chris is more like, I would never put myself through that.
Sure. Right.
Also, like, I think Chris knows too much. It would be hard for him to sincerely go through the process. You really have to decide to be a little delusional to make it work.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. But keep talking.
Yeah. You have to be like, I'm going to deliberately not think about, is this normal? You know, Chris knows too much.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
That's all. And so
Dumb question.
I don't know. It's complicated, and I as a friend to Chris, all I can say is I believe in his ability to learn from his mistakes, and I think he has a good heart, and I believe people can learn.
Right.
You know.
But then also, I mean, you know, this has been not a great year for the whole franchise because of a lot of different reasons. And now there's the Colton thing. So like, ultimately, you know, what is your feeling about the future of the franchise right now, April 2021?
I think so much about this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, any talk of like, oh, let's just get rid of the show. Well, they answer that by adding another season. So
yeah,
if that answers your question, I as someone who's had plenty of frustrations with them and they get a lot of things wrong, I don't think, you know, people talk about casting on the show. I know that their casting process is they spend way more money and have a way more attention to a way more intense screening process than any other reality TV show out there.
Right.
I know that people who have tried to get on The Bachelor and were denied based off of their social media for whatever reason have ended up on shows.
Wow.
People that they wanted to cast.
Yeah.
People they're like, this guy's or this girl star.
Yeah.
And they're like, we can't do it but Bachelor Nation is intense. You know, people take that for granted. Like, there are not an infinite number of podcasts about Temptation Island like there are The Bachelor. How many Bachelor podcasts are there? Truly, I don't know. You can count.
No, you can't.
I bet over 100.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That many?
Oh,
I mean, you're talking. I'm talking like, niche fan. Like, yes,
Yeah.
I'm not talking mainstream, but like, it's a passionate and dedicated fan base, which is great.
Right.
But they are paying attention to everything. Right. I mean, you know, I don't think this is, you know, and I feel like this is not going to be the last time they have a controversy. Despite all that, they will cast someone that is revealed to be problematic through whatever actions they had in the past. You look at the Rachel K situation. I mean, some of her problems, some of her problematic situations didn't come from her social. It came from someone else's social.
Yeah.
And someone else's social might be, I don't know if this is the case, but like people have private accounts. How do you screen that? But once someone goes on, and someone's like, oh, this person's famous now. I mean, the girl who created the TikTok about Rachel K, her TikTok went viral. And then she created more
TikTok.
Pardon me?
I didn't know.
I think it came from TikTok. And then she created a handful of other TikToks to like double down. And when people make viral TikToks, what do they always do? They try to duplicate the success that they had.
Right.
So I just wonder if people, you know, and The Bachelor keeps putting out the reason why they started like releasing the names of these contestants wasn't to do with anything other than saying, hey, Bachelor Nation, we've done our best to try to weed these people out. But if there's things you find, let us know.
This is so dystopian.
That's the only reason why they do it.
Wow. Okay.
But my question is are people going to do that, or are they going to hold on to it, wait for episode 1 to drop, and then make a TikTok?
When did this person make hers?
After episode 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Lord,
it doesn't in any way make what Rachel did okay.
Right.
But I'm confident that there will be another problematic casting in the future. And it's not because they are deliberately doing it. I mean, they are potentially have lost their beloved host. They have a lot, like, I'm friends with some of these people, not all these people, but it's been emotionally like do they want to work there? And, it's like, it's a lot.
Very quick question. What kind of mental health care is there for people who've been on this show?
Show could do better about that.
Sounds that way.
Something I've said to them a ton of times, but at what point they need to do a better job. They need to do a better job of prepping their cast before the show. It's a different world than it was 7 years ago. Social media is a different beast. It's happened faster than we all expected, right?
Yeah.
And that's another thing with casting. Like, how can they monitor all these abundant platforms?
Yeah.
But they need to do a better job. I don't have an answer to that, but I do think they could prep their cast. The show needs to do better, though.
Okay.
And I don't know. I think they could do a better job, and I think they are trying. But you can always do better with this stuff. They can always do better trying to cast the right people and non-problematic people.
Yeah.
And they should do better, and they should want to do better. But I don't know if. Like, what I do know is that when they're not deliberately trying to do it, but overall, I don't think it's going anywhere because we're still talking about it.
Yeah, I'll watch.
I just hope we just try to learn from it, I guess. I think there always are learning opportunities everywhere. And I think if our goal is to try to learn from it and be better for it, then I think we're in a better place rather than, taking people down. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, it does.
Dave, I feel like we could do this forever.
I mean, I'm here.
We have a season coming up. We have many seasons coming up. The Bachelor is going to be on every Monday and sometimes Tuesday for the next year. Please come back and recap us.
Anytime.
Can't wait.
Anytime.
We thank you so much.
Thank you for being my first studio thing in
we are happy
15 months.
On April 23rd.
This Friday.
I will be a guest on Dave's show, Friday 40.
The Friday 40. Yeah.
I can't wait.
It's going to be so much fun.
Check that out. I'll put a link up on my Instagram.
Appreciate it. Yeah. We can watch from wherever you are. It's you buy a ticket, you get a YouTube link. It's a comedy fun. It's a comedy game show. It's going to be a ball.
Dave's book.
Party of One.
Party of One.
Wherever books are sold.
And you also have a podcast.
I do, yeah. Homophilia with my friend Matt McConkey, where we get into these sort of LGBTQ plus issues with awesome queer people. I've listen to that one. I have a bunch of podcasts.
Awesome.
But that's the relevant one.
We can't thank you enough. Thanks so much for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow with a very exciting episode to talk about being an introvert and an extrovert, the history behind it. It might explain a lot of things to a lot of you people, the history behind it. With Susan Cain, she's like the foremost expert, the author of the book Quiet, who has studied this stuff for a long time. We have a great episode with her. Be sure to check that out. And if nothing else, we will see you tomorrow.